ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Okay, those who have a good connection, turn on your videos. Yeah. Okay, let us start. Okay, which was the verse we are seeing?
We saw the 80th verse now.
82.
Yeah. 80th we saw.
82nd verse. 82.
82.
Yep. Any questions, clarifications, or it's all fine? Okay, I assume things are fine. Okay.
Swami, I wanted to ask a question, but not on what you have taught.
Anyway, if it is relative, no problem. Yeah.
Yes. We call the cosmic mind Hiranyagarbha. So, Hiranya means, in Sanskritam, it means cold and Garbha is womb. Is there any explanation, or is there any specific reason why we call it Hiranyagarbha?
Yep, there is. Because Hiranyagarbha is a cosmic mind. So Hiranyam meaning that which is golden, meaning shining, knowledge. So Hiranyam is a lakshana for knowledge. Okay. Garbha is a womb, the source. Therefore the source of all knowledge. The cosmic mind, where all knowledge exists. That's how it is looked into, yeah. It's a lakshana, not to be taken literally. Yeah. Otherwise you will say Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Ramakrishna the divine goose, through the golden womb laid the Brahmanda. Okay. Those are all literal translations in English. Okay. Rajiv Malhotra has brought out a book, or in the process of bringing it out, called Sanskrit Intranslatables. Certain words can't be translated, they can only be explained. Of course, he goes a bit overboard on it, as usual, but okay, so he's still fine. Yeah. He has a tendency to go a bit overboard, but still he's all right. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So last verse we saw him explaining, unfolding what the Atma is about. Nirgunam, Nishkriyam, etc. All that we saw. Okay. Niramayam, Shuddham, Buddham, Tata, Muktam. Okay. Therefore, what is presented as Brahman is not different from me. He is myself alone. Okay. Just because two words are used, Brahman and Atma, doesn't mean there are two entities. Two standpoints, one entity. Therefore, for communication's sake, two words are used. So, when you use the word Brahman, you will know that we are talking from the standpoint of totality. When you use the word Atman, you will know you are talking from the standpoint of individuality. But Brahman and Atman is one and the same. Okay. Vastu kevalam drishtihi dvayam. Vastu is one, drishtihi, your understanding, your view is twofold. That's all. Yeah, yeah. Bandham moksham cha sarvam yad idam ubhayam heyam ekam dvayam cha nyeyam nyeyabhyatitam paramam adigatam tattvam ekam vishuddham विज्ञाय एतद्यथावलु श्रुतिं मुनिर्दिगतं शोकमोहावतीतः सर्वज्ञः सर्वकृत् स्यात् भवभयरहितो ब्रह्मणो अवाप्तकृत्यः. 2 verses describing the knowledge and the one who gains the knowledge. Both are described here. The knowledge and the one who has gained this knowledge. Okay. Bandham moksham cha yat sarvam idam ubhayam heyam. The idea of bondage and liberation, both are given up. Both are given up. Why? The bondage itself is a projection due to avidya. Where is real bondage? Remember, in studying of Vedanta, it is not the bound becoming free. It is not the bound becoming free. You were never bound. That is the idea. Yeah. You never were under bondage. Because what is bondage? Your sense of limitation, your sense of finitude, and therefore your existential issues. That's all that bondage is. It is generally characterized by birth and death. It's characterized by birth and death because the final helplessness is revealed there. Your final limitations. No choice. Where do you have a choice? Over birth or death? Yeah. You don't have a choice of either. Yeah. Nor do you have a choice over death. And then what about yogis sitting in samadhi and going? They also don't have much of a choice. That's why they wait for the right time. They wait for the right time. Why? Because the time has to be ripe. Yeah, the time has to be ripe. If the time is not ripe, how are you going? Yeah. The time has to be ripe. So, there is a helplessness with respect to that. Because of that helplessness, there is used to indicate your bondage, your sense of bondage. Yeah. So, bandha moksha, that is bondage. Why? Born from your ignorance, therefore taking the body, mind, etc. is yourself. Therefore, clear cut, ignorance, bondage is ignorance based. Removal of that ignorance is called moksha. That means what? There is no real bondage, no real moksha. Because I have this notion called bondage, I need freedom. Swamiji, if just a notion, why do you need freedom from it? Because notions are very powerful things. Your thinking limits you like nothing else. Yeah. Your thinking limits you like anything else. Yeah. Just imagine. The woman had taken gold jewelry out of the locker because she wanted to attend a wedding. And after the wedding, she came back and kept it in the cupboard. Next day, the husband put it into the locker without telling her. And he went on his work. And the lady thought, before going to office, I will take the jewelry and put it into a locker. She also thought the same way. But she goes, she finds not there. All the jewelry is not there. Oh my God, who has taken it away? Notional loss. But the anxiety and sorrow you feel are as though the loss is real. As though the loss is real. So she gets frantic about it. And then finally phones her husband. Arey, lost, we are lost, somebody has lost. No, I have taken it and put it in the locker. Relief first. Relief from what? Notional loss. Of course, generally that will be followed by anger. Why did you do that without telling me? You're always like this, you never care about my feelings. Understandable. Correct? He should have told her. That is corollary. Here corollary is different because you can't blame anybody for your notion anyway. For your notional loss of freedom, no, you can't blame anybody. Even if you are a typical man who handles failure in a manly manner, how? You blame it on your wife. Even if you are like that, for this notion, how can you blame anyone for it? Your sense of finitude, you can't blame anyone. Though generally, we say, I'm unhappy because I married you, etc., all that can be said. But you would be unhappy even if you are not married, okay? Even if you are not married to her or him, you would still be unhappy. That's a different thing altogether. Therefore, that bandha and moksha, purely notional. And because it is notional, heyam, he says, naturally given up. Once you discover what you really are, where is the idea of bondage or freedom? Not there, doesn't exist. Not there, doesn't exist. Okay. Heyam ekam dvayam cha. There's only one, no, there's many. What one and many are you talking about? One, many, etc. are numerical concepts. Numbers don't exist by itself. Numbers represent some entity, some quality, or something it has to represent. Even though you try to imagine real numbers, imaginary numbers, number line, etc., they all are representing entities, concepts, qualities, something it has to represent. Numbers is another way of language, that's all. Mathematics is another language, it's a meta language, but it's a language, all right. Therefore, it has to represent something. Though we teach our children 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 plus 2, 4. What 2? What is this 2 plus 2? Unless your 2 is representing something. Yeah. 2 mangoes and 2 apples. Can you say there 4 what? Unless you introduce the idea of a superset called fruits, you can't talk about 4. Yeah. So in the set of fruits you can talk about. Otherwise 2 apples and 2 oranges or 2 apples and 2 oranges. Yeah. There is no 4. So it's a language representing something. Therefore, ekam dvayam cha, ideas of 1 and 2. When there is only a reality, what 1 and 2? Yeah. There's only consciousness. Then where is the question of the other? Yeah. Therefore, dvayam hekam cha heyam. Nyeyam nyeya abhyatitam. Nyeyam and nyeyaha. What is to be known? Nyeyabhyaha atitam. Free from known and unknown. I am the consciousness. Am I known? Yeah. Really? No. Because I am not an object of knowledge. I am not an object of knowledge. There is no ignorance about me at any time. I am is never ignorant. You are never ignorant that you are. Only what you have some ideas. Yeah. It's like someone asked me, do you not know who I am? I said, come and sit in my class if you don't know who you are. I'll teach you. और क्या बोले? These are called guru-like responses, which diffuses situations very fast. Therefore, you are never an object of knowledge, though it is true. When you come to study Vedanta, you are presented as something as Nyayam, know yourself. Because I don't know what I am. I've already concluded I don't know what I am. In fact, as a fact, I don't know what I am. Because I think of myself as an unknown entity, the teachers are constrained to present, or the Shastra itself is also constrained to present yourself as a goal to be known. But the Jnayam is Atma Swarupam. Therefore, free from these concepts of known, knowledge, etc. Param Adhigatam. When Paramam Adhigatam, when you understand the Absolute, that is when you free from all this. Not otherwise. Otherwise, people will go away with the idea, teacher has said, free from known and unknown. Therefore, why do you have to study anything? Yeah. Or some person sitting in the class for a long time will say, correct, that's why I am not knowing it. Okay, so I don't know it. 30 years I have been exposed to Vedanta and my guru is not satisfied with me, with my learning. And see, now he himself has admitted it is beyond known. Okay. Paramadhigatam tu ekam vishuddham. The ekam here in the sense of Vedarahitam. Ekam here is in terms of limitlessness itself. Sarva Vedarahitam. Okay, Advayam. Ekam is sense in the sense of Advayam. Yeah. Advayam is what? Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata Vedarahitam. Okay, yeah. That is Ekam, Vishuddham, free from everything. Because nothing else has the same degree of reality. Nothing else has the same degree of reality. Therefore, Vishuddham. Okay. All these, okay, each word here is really speaking, explaining what I am. Each word is explaining what I am. Okay. Therefore, don't take it as conceptual. This is not a conceptual thing we are talking about. Okay. This is purely non-conceptual. Yeah. Don't try to make all this into a concept. Yeah. Free from bondage and liberation. What do you mean free from bondage and liberation? That means I am not a finite entity. I will say, Atma is free from bondage and liberation. You will repeat it because you gain familiarity with it. You can even give a talk on it. But what does it mean? Do I see myself as being free from any sense of limitation? If I don't, I have to look at how I have been studying. Have I been converting the teaching into conceptualization, into concepts? That's why, sometimes when my students present things, I tell them, as far as possible, don't read. Don't read from a book. You make your points, but don't read. Why? When you are writing down this, that you are conceptualizing a lot. Yeah, it's good to understand. The writing is good to understand the logical connection, etc. That is good. But beyond that, it should not be conceptualized. Bandha moksha hetam. Correct. I am free from bondage and moksha. I am free. I don't feel the need for moksha. I was never bound. That idea that I am never bound, to feel that, to be able to acknowledge that about yourself. Where is bondage? है ही नहीं है. Can you sing along with Meera? भव सागर सब सूख गया है, फिकर नहीं अब तरने की. Well, Bhavasagara, what Bhavasagara are you talking about? It's also dried up. I don't have to cross anymore. There is nothing to cross. Yeah. Because I am free. Hey, what crossing are you talking about? What crossing? This is misunderstood by a lot of people, like Anjaneya saying, I don't want moksha, I don't need moksha. Oh, that is because he is Parama Bhakta of Rama. He always wanted to be there chanting Rama's name. That's not the idea. Yeah, Anjaneya was a Parama Bhakta, all right. But you always call him Parama Bhakta means what? Lord and I are one and the same. He understood that. He understood that. From that standpoint, he is talked about. Yeah. Not because he wanted to sit and chant Rama, 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 Rama. वो सब हो गया काम. All that is over and done with. Yeah. I'm free. I don't need moksha. I am never bound. Why do I need moksha when I am never bound? Yeah. So what will you do? You live out your normal life in this knowledge, playing whatever roles you have to play, dropping roles, picking up roles. क्या फर्क पड़ा है? Yeah. Okay. Tam paramadhikatam tu ekam vishuddham. Paramam adhigatam. Okay. One who understood that which is the absolute. Adhigatam. Okay. Okay. It says Vijñaya etad yatha avatshruti munir gaditam. How the rishis have taught this. You understand in harmony with the pramana. in harmony with the teaching when you are not it. Okay? Yeah. Because whoever you are, born a human being, you will get this knowledge only if you use a pramana. Some people require elaborate use of pramana. Some people require very minimalistic use. Ramana Maharshi needed just 2 words. He still needed that to come from outside. Okay. Yeah. If anyone claims he has got it without pramana, he is bluffing. Or what he talks about moksha is something entirely different. Yeah, something entirely different. It's not moksha. It's some experiential trance-like state, etc. Okay. Therefore, Vijñaihi etad yatha avashrutam unigatam shokam mohavatitaha. Shoka mohavatitaha. Beyond all grief and delusion. Beyond all grief and delusion. At the same time, you will have a lot of empathy with people who are in grief. If I go to a Shok Sabha, what will I tell them? What are you all crying about? There is neither birth nor death. The person who is gone is free, he is not gone anywhere. None of you are going to die. Is this what I am going to say? I have not yet become that much of an idiot. That is not wisdom. You will empathize with people who have sorrow. You will empathize with people. You will not be going around like a grinning idiot. You don't have to do that. Okay? Why? Because you are wise. Now you have to prove that you are always Ananda. So any question, anyone else? First, only then you will talk. So let them think I am not wise. What does it make? What difference does it make? Really, what difference does it make? If an ignorant person thinks that the wise person is not wise, what difference does it make? It is exactly like some people saying, there is nothing like COVID, it's all a myth. There are enough COVID idiots who say that. What will you do? You laugh at them. COVID पकड़ने दो फिर पता लगेगा. Yeah. Why are you bothered? Therefore, you don't have to prove anything. Okay. Shoka moha atitam, but at the same time, you are free from grief. At the same time, you will empathize. I have seen wise people in tears. Why? That's a pathos of the human situation. You are in harmony with the pathos that is there. Exactly like you see a movie and it moves you. The movie is moving, not you, but it moves you, okay? It moves you into tears. Why? You are identifying with the human pathos there. Yeah, the human pathos you are identifying. And that's okay. That is why the wise person has not become inhuman anyway. The wise person has not become inhuman. He is still human. Yeah. Therefore, but at the same time, it doesn't touch you. Your core is free from that. Shoka moha titam sarvajñah sarvakrit syat. Sarvajñah sarvakrit syat. He is sarvajñah. Sarvam jnanati iti. Why all that is there is only consciousness. Satyam jnanam anantam Brahman is all that is there, and you know that. What about the entire universe? Mithya. But you don't know Russian. I don't know details of Mithya. I only know what is Satya. So Sarvajnaha is from that standpoint. Okay. That's why generally for Ishvara you will use the term Sarvajnaha, Sarvavit, both together. Why? You know the Ishvara knows the details of Mithya. You can be a Sarvajna in terms of knowing the reality that is there, but you will never know. The human mind can never know all the details of the Mithya world. You cannot know it. The human mind is not capable of holding all the details of Mithya. It will blow your mind up. Mind, not the consciousness. In you, the consciousness, all the Mithya exists. In me, the consciousness, the whole Mithya universe exists. I know the Satyam. Details of Mithya, Ishvara's job, not mine. Because that is role. Ishvara's job to create the whole thing. My job is only to create confusion. So both of us are good in our jobs, okay? Yeah. Therefore, Sarvajnaha only in that sense. Sarvakrit, he says. Sarvakrit is used in the sense of Kritakrityaha. Okay. Kritakrityaha. All that you have to do in life, you have done. Swamiji, I know so many of your plans have not worked out. Ki farak painde? What difference does it make? Any action you undertake is for the sake of your fulfillment, for the sake of your fullness. You want to be a fulfilled person at the end of the whole thing. That's why you do anything. Now you have got that sense of fulfillment already. Then what is there left for you to achieve? For the sake of fullness, for the sake of fulfillment, nothing. Nothing. So does it mean the wise person will sit down in one place quietly? He may. Mastaram Baba ban jayega. Yeah. Mastaram Baba ban gaya. Or he may teach because he knows one thing. If those who know don't teach, those who don't know will start teaching. As it is, a lot of teachers don't know. I have seen some IIT graduates downloading stuff from YouTube and the net and everything and becoming teachers of Vedanta. Worst possible thing ever to do. Yeah. In Bombay, there is another group going around like that. They teach Indian Western philosophy in public. Very good. Achha. That's good. You'll get an overview of Indian and Western philosophies. Oriental philosophies, Western philosophy. It's good. As an overview, it's good to know. But because of that, they think they know Vedanta and they have. No, I understand the concept of moksha. They'll talk like that. What is that? Freedom from birth and death. Good. When they said, I understand the concept of moksha, I knew what it was, what their knowledge was. When they confirmed it with the second statement, I know. That's not how it is learned, okay? That's not how it is learned. Therefore, the wise person will teach generally because, depends. Some wise people will go all over the world teaching. That's their prarabdha. How does anyone decide where to teach and how to teach? Tell me. In fact, really speaking, you don't decide to teach. This is the truth tradition is this. And I find all great teachers in our tradition at least have come from this background. Like my guru asked me, what are your plans? Swamiji, no plans. My plans began and ended with the knowledge. That's it. You're getting the knowledge for yourself. Then I'd like you to teach. Okay, done. Then Prarabdha brought you to Bombay. So somebody said, oh, SIS College sign is available, you can take a class there. Okay, chalo kya. Then somebody called me to South Bombay, my Prarabdha. I went there. You responded to needs in the society and that's how you become a teacher. Yeah. That will depend upon your Prarabdha. Prarabdha will take you here and there. No? What else will take you here and there? Yeah. Your Guru Vakya can take you. Yeah. That is true. Therefore, Sarvakrit, you achieved all there is to be achieved. What is there to be achieved? Because you have a mind and you have a body which is fairly good condition, you will respond to the needs of people and teach and empathize and help them with whatever is there. और क्या करने का? Even putting up an ashram and things like that is for what? You recognize the responsibility that all teachers have, that you create teachers for the future. Let the parampara go on. How are you going to get teachers for the future otherwise? All of us here and your children, yep, I'm there. What about the next one, generation? You need to create teachers. Every teacher creates a few teachers. For that you need a setup to be full-time, etc. Therefore, you may undertake a plan for that. Works out good, doesn't work out, Ishvara has to see now. Yeah. I mean, you'll still create a few teachers. I have a couple of students who have become teachers and are teaching. Yeah. And some more I thought who would become, but I don't think they will. But okay, that's all right. That's their prarabdha, my prarabdha. Okay. Yeah. And some more on the line. So it's good. Yeah. Great. Sarvakrit. I have done all that is to be done. Okay. Sarvakrit syat. Then bhava bhaya rahitaha. Bhava bhaya rahitaha. Bhava is generally used as a lakshana for samsara. Samsara bhaya rahitaha. There is no fear of samsara. See, the moment I say this, everyone says, Swamiji, I have no fear. You don't have fear because you have not put yourself in challenging enough situations. People who talk like this, I remember this group that came with me to Badri Kedar. Olden days. Now I have to find new areas because under the new government, nice big highways are going to come for all these places, you know. Which is a good thing. A lot of people can visit it, but the purpose of the yatra is gone. So they were all joyfully, we started off from Rishikesh and someone was singing a bhajan. Ye jeevan hai, jungle ke lakadi, aag lage to guzar jaye, something like that. There is anyone knows this bhajan? I don't know. I heard it so long back, I don't remember it. Okay. It was like that. There are various, this bhajan was about various situations saying how ephemeral is life. I said, very good, nice to sing. When you're nice, comfortable bus you have, and you're going. A nice, comfortable bus and you're going, it's nice to sing. Then there came a place where when the bus is turning, the rear wheels are on the road, but the back portion of the bus is outside the road. Only the wheels are touching. Because those buses are designed like that. The wheels are pushed in front, so the back can, even if the back goes outside the thing and hanging over the valley, you are still safe because the wheels are touching. So I told my friend Uday, sing that song. Abhi kya? Are Gana. So he started, and everyone, hey, Uday, please keep quiet, please keep quiet. Why? What happened? अभी जंगल का लकड़ी को क्या हो गया? You stop being a jungle का लड़की also. A jungle का लड़की is more courageous than this. Yeah. Fear. Everyone has it. Not exposed to the right situation. I don't know how many in this group have never stepped out of the house out of fear of COVID. Or not getting maids, etc. COVID, nahi. But still getting it. Hey, here fear also stands for insecurity. If you are a human being, you will have insecurity. And no security is totally secure. No security is totally secure. There are few people here who invest in stocks and securities. They all know this for a fact. No security is really secure. Yeah. I give you a relative sense of security. Okay. Good enough. Good enough. Yeah. Therefore, bhava bhaya rahita. Free from this. Free from this. Yeah. Bhava bhaya rahita. Brahmanaha avapta krityaha. How did he become like all this? Brahmanaha avapta krityaha. He has gained oneness with Brahman. Gained is upalakshana. This is praptasya praptihi. Gaining what is already there. Two types of gain. Reminding you of old lessons, okay? Apraptasya prapti and praptasya prapti. Apraptasya prapti is getting what you don't have. The job that you don't have, the partner that you don't have, the money that you don't have, the new house that you don't have, or just had it, just managed to have it. Apraptam praptam. Apraptasya prapti. That requires a lot of karma. The house that you don't have, you need to make a lot of money before you get it. No? Even in a depressed market like right now, a tiny little house in Chambur, 2 bedrooms, 600 square feet costs 2 crores. Abhi kya bolega? For the same money in Dubai, you can buy a nice 3-bedroom property. Much bigger. 1,000 square feet at least. Now you have to make that money. Therefore, apraptam now praptaha. You have to earn. You have to earn. Yeah. Earn that. A lot of karma is involved. Or there is praptasya praptihi. gaining what you already have, what you thought you had lost. Like that lady, you thought her ornaments are gone, or you searching for the key that is there in your own pocket. Brahman belongs to the second category. You already Brahman. You only have to know that I am Brahman. Therefore, avaptam. Okay? Aptaha. Aptakrityaha. Okay? Aptakrityaha. You already achieved that. If that is achieved, what is there left for you to be achieved? For the sake of fulfillment, nothing. Nothing. That's why it is natural for many people who know the truth to lead a sannyasi-like life. Whether you take the road formally or not, it's quite common. Though not all. There have been enough cases of people who have lived normal lives also. Not that sannyasi life is abnormal. It is just as a minority. That's all. Okay. There's nothing abnormal about sannyasi life. It is not the mainstream. That's all. In modern India. Ancient India, it was part of mainstream. Why? All inclusive, no? So whether you are living a sannyasi lifestyle, that is called nivritti marga. No, I am living a householder's lifestyle. Pravritti marga. Finished. There you are. What do you want to choose? Yeah. It depends on your prarabdha also to a great extent. Though prarabdha cannot really prevent someone from walking away. Prarabdha can prevent you from achieving something. You are not meant to get that. That can happen. However much effort you put in, may not happen. How can it prevent you from renouncing? Walking away from it all. It cannot. It cannot. Yeah. Because you are walking away. Prarabdha may still follow you in different ways, but it can't prevent you from doing that. Like I gave you my own example. No? My mother was very sure I would never become a sannyasi. Why? In my prarabdha there is the fate to become the parent of a girl. And I assure you, I don't have any child officially or unofficially. But the prarabdha did follow me. And when I came back to Bombay to teach, I was a local guardian for 4 girls, not one. And I happily accepted that because I knew prarabdha is getting over. Give that much to prarabdha. Then other problems will not come in. So prarabdha can follow you, but it cannot prevent you from doing things like this. Cannot prevent you from gaining moksha. Unless you give in to it. Unless you give in to it. Yeah. Still, it cannot prevent you from gaining moksha. It can prevent a particular lifestyle, that's all. Like in Bhishma's case. Prevented a lifestyle. He had renounced the kingdom and having future children so that his father could marry Satyavati. He had renounced. So he thought, अभी क्या है? बाबा जी बन जाएगा. Sannyasa. I renounce kingdom. I renounce children. Yeah, I'm a warrior. I'm one of the greatest warriors in the land. What is next step for me now? Kingdom I have renounced. Warrior I am. Children I have renounced. अभी क्या बाकी है? I have achieved everything that I have to achieve in society. Moksha is, here I come, that's all that is left. So he wanted to go. So he said, Let my father have a hair. Okay? The moment that happens, I'll walk off. But his father was sickly by that time. They had kids, 2 kids. Okay. Father dies. Oh my God. I have to see these kids growing up. I'll put them on the throne by the time they're 18 and then I will go. Kids were 5, 6 year old that time. Another 10, 12 years, no big deal. By the time they were 18, 19, one died of TB, the other was killed in battle. Abhi kya hai? And both of them were married, okay? So by Niyoga, they got children. Vyasa was the sperm donor. One was born blind, Dhritarashtra. The other suffered from vitiligo, Pandu. Not a problem. He said, okay. Let these people become big enough. Let Pandu become big enough to become king. Then I will go. Pandu had a curse because of which he cannot have children, etc. So he went to the forest to do tapas, dies there. And there are 5 kids. All small. And here there are 100 kids, all tiny. So at every time he did what was necessary in the society. Therefore he couldn't take a life of sannyasa, but he never gave up the pursuit of moksha and knowledge. When he and Vyasa met, both were young men. Okay. When he and Vyasa met, Vyasa had not yet become Vyasa. He was Krishna Dvipayanaha, a Muni, all right. Young Muni, in his 20s. And Bhishma was a young warrior, Devarataha, in his 20s. So the buddy and a Guru-Sishya relationship both went side by side. They were buddies also, and they were teacher-student also, both. Went on side by side. Only thing is, Vyasa's role as a warrior overshadowed everything else, therefore they didn't realize his wisdom. Until Krishna pointed out when Bhishma had already fallen and he was waiting for his death. Therefore, moksha pursuit cannot be stopped if you choose to, irrespective of your prarabdha. You may or may not have the prarabdha to be a sannyasi. And prarabdha for sannyasa is rarely seen in horoscopes. Rarely seen. They have to infer it with other lakshanas, like strong shani, this, that, etc. There is supposed to be a sannyasa yoga, but there is actually a poverty yoga, for poverty, which may not be very much applicable today. Because sannyasa does not involve a vow of poverty. That is for the Christian monks. Padris have. We don't have a vow of poverty. We don't even have a vow of celibacy, you know that? That may surprise a lot of people. We have a vow of non-competitiveness, ahimsa. I will not compete with anyone for anything. Why? My pursuit is moksha and nothing else. What am I competing for? For what? Yeah, I don't need anything. I need only moksha. So sannyasa is a lifestyle fully committed to moksha, which you may or may not lead. You may have other commitments, other responsibilities, and then become like Bhishma then. You think Bhishma's responsibilities were small? Oh my God. You have to look after a couple of kids and you think it's a big deal. You have to look after 105. all fighting against each other all the time. Talk about sibling rivalry, they went to kill each other. What are you talking about? If that didn't prevent him from gaining moksha, why should your couple of kids, etc., prevent you from gaining moksha? He had to hold a kingdom together without being the king. Officially, he had no powers. All the power he wielded was on the strength of his personality. Dhritarashtra was the king. When he told the king, "Beta, I think this is what should be done." Yes, sir. In 99% of the cases. But that 1% created problems. Yeah. It's purely on the strength of his personality, nothing else. Not official power. Yeah. Who will dare to go against Bhishma anyway? Like Vyasa, if he gave an interpretation of the Shastra, who would dare to go against him? So both were at the top in both of their this. Both. Jnanam was there in both. Lifestyle differed. Lifestyle differed. Though Vyasa was not a sannyasi, but his lifestyle was rishi-like. Yeah, Vyasa was married. Shuka was his son. Yeah. Wife was called Vatika, a Mahaatharvan's daughter. Mahaatharvan was the great sage in the Atharva Veda. His daughter. Of Mahaatharvan it is said, with a word, you could make the living dead or the dead alive with one word. This was what the Shastra was. And now people are talking about switch words, is that, etc. What nonsense are you all talking about? A scholarly woman, okay? Pandita herself. She was a Rishika, okay, all right. Therefore, lifestyle. What is he saying is what? Brahmana avapta krityaha. Your lifestyle can be anything, but you know the truth. You are living in the truth. Yeah. You know the truth, you are living in the truth. What does it matter what your lifestyle is? It is said of the wise person, Prarabdaya arpitam vapuhu. Your body is offered to Prarabdha. Let the Prarabdha take you where? I am here today in Bombay, Prarabdha. I am not there in UK for the yoga festival this time, Prarabdha. Or kya? I was supposed to be there. They called me, and someone called, I'll say, okay, fine, I'll be there. Yeah. So instead, my presence is registered by an article in that booklet that they publish. It's there on the net also. I think it has just gone up on their website. Yeah. It's a very different topic altogether. Nothing to do with yoga or Vedanta. It has something to do with communication in human beings. I thought, let me give a different perspective. So, Prarabdha drags here and there. Yeah. Tomorrow, my teacher had, when he was still in the human form, if he had said, go here and do that, I'll say, fine. Who am I to decide when my guru says something? Yeah. And most of us, we live by Prarabdha only. Na? All of us, in many ways, we are living out our Prarabdha only. Who is not living out your Prarabdha, tell me? Half your life is Prarabdha, other half is what you choose if you are leading a good life. Yeah. Anyway, that apart, avapta krityaha. All right. Then he says,
Swamiji,
yeah, any question?
uh,
Yeah,
yes,
Karthik.
Swamiji, hello, Swamiji, I just wanted to clarify about the avidya that you were referring to earlier in this verse.
Yeah.
So, Swami, what the way I have perhaps understood it is that the fact that I have taken on this Jiva Upadhi in this birth is because of a Mula Vidya,
Yeah.
which has given me this Upadhi. And at the time of Jnanam, specifically the avidya that goes is the Adhyasa.
Avidya also goes. Okay. Now, avidya has two aspects to it. One is avidya as a simple upadhi that's available to all of us in deep sleep. That avidya is not negated on any knowledge. That avidya is experientially negated when you are awake. But it is there at the back. As upadhi, it is there. Like how the body is an upadhi. You know I am not the body, but it is a upadhi. Similarly, this avidya is there. It's upadhi. It is part of the cosmic avidya, Maya Shakti. Then there is this avidya that is manifest in your mind. Like ignorance of what is there on my table. What is there on my table, apart from the laptop which you are sure of, okay, perceptually and inferentially, both, you don't know what else will be there. You never know. Sadhu's table, anything can be there. Yeah, really. What is that? Tarot cards. Everyone expected me to come up with a pen. But I said, you never know what is there on a sadhu's table. Anything can be there. This is for teaching. Okay. This is for teaching, that is for fun. Okay. Yeah. So, that is, now that ignorance goes when the knowledge happens in your mind. The ignorance manifest in your mind is negated by knowledge in the mind. Now, self-ignorance is also manifest in the mind. I don't know myself. I don't know who I am, what I am. I only know I am. I can say, that's why everyone likes Bulla's song, you know. Bulla na jane mein kaun hu. Everyone likes it. Because they can resonate with it. Maybe nahi jane. I know what I am not. I am not Moses, I am not this, I am not that. He says all that. But Bulla na jane mein kaun hu. So when I hear songs like this that are very popular, I feel like saying, you know, Ara baith ke padhna. Go and learn from someone. Na? Instead of singing about your ignorance, making a song and dance about your ignorance, go learn. That's the right thing to do. Anyway, that apart. So this is Vrittik Jnanam. So Vedanta gives you Vrittik Jnanam, knowledge in the form of a thought, of a vritti, which will negate the ignorance, self-ignorance in the mind. Like how the ignorance of what was there on my table went away. When you saw this, similarly, the ignorance of what I am in my mind goes away. That knowledge is gone for good. That knowledge is gone for good. That will make a comeback. But the Ajnana Upadhi, that will remain. Because that is part of the cosmic Maya. Like how my body remains in spite of negation. Similarly, this Ajnanam remains, which helps the wise person go to sleep. Thank God. Yeah. Sunday afternoon after lunch, you can catch a nap. No? Achha hai. Yeah. or every night you can go to sleep. This is a great thing. Yeah. So that ignorance will remain. The manifested will go. Yeah. Just like any other knowledge. We'll negate only the manifested ignorance. The ignorance as upadhi continues. And that is not a problem. It is the ignorance as an upadhi is not a problem. It's an aid for you to get rest, for you to go to sleep, etc. The manifested ignorance is what is the problem. Because that is what creates the confusion between who you are and what you are not. So that will go away. That's why transcending your mind is also not an answer. Just to remind everyone here, transcending the mind is not an answer. Why? Because ignorance is in the mind and you are going beyond the mind. Problem idhar hai, udhar ja raha hai. Yeah. The problem here is not solved. No? This is like Bombay is getting flooded in the rains, so I live in Lonavala for some time. As the Lonavala, there is not going to be floods. Only it's going to drain faster, that's all. So where the problem is, there you need a solution. The problem of Bombay floods is not solved by you going to Lonavala. Your problem may be solved. Your location problem may be solved. That's all. Like people are escaping COVID to areas where there is no COVID. What are they doing? Bringing COVID there. Aur kya kar raha hai? Because no mask, no this thing. Freaking out. I can understand in London people are going to open up. Because most of the people is vaccinated. Cases are low. Even though slowly cases are climbing a little bit up and down they are going. But still, most of the people are vaccinated, so chances are good. They can, in my opinion, they can have all open activities. Malls and bars, I'm a little doubtful about. Because nobody maintains mask and social distancing in a bar. From my limited experience of it. Limited because it's some time back. Nobody maintains social distancing or mask in a bar. Open air things, activities, all that can be maintained. So that can be fine. Yeah. The bar aspect, but then England has a huge pub culture. Yeah. Yeah. Pub culture is huge, especially London. So you can't completely not open also. But maybe a graded opening may work. But that's a different thing. That's about a topical problem. Here the question is, the ignorance manifests in your mind which causes the problem. That has to be negated. Cosmic Maya will remain, let it remain. That will go only on Pralaya, etc. That also doesn't go, it remains in potential condition. So this is the difference in terms of that. That's why no experience is going to give you knowledge. Unless the ignorance in the mind goes away. You will get some experiential insights that you can have. Some insights you can gain. Some experiences, which you will then want to try to repeat. And you will build up a culture and philosophy around that. Yeah. Because of an experiential insight. But that's not moksha. Yeah. It's an insight. That much can be there from experience. If you look at the experience properly. Not otherwise. Yeah. And all these people who talk about experiential insights, I know some very popular teachers who talked about it. All of them have sometime interacted with my teacher. I'm talking of the Indian teachers. Or they send their students to the ashram to pick up some books and some tapes and some this. I know that also. Yeah. So, which is fine. It's nothing wrong in gaining knowledge from anywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong in that. We are happy. Yeah. Yeah, Karthik. No.
Sorry, Swamiji. What I was just wanting to ask as a follow-up question is
Hmm.
that therefore in deep sleep,
Hmm.
even though the experience is uniform for a jnani and
Yeah.
an ajnani, that is because of the overriding power of the cosmic Maya.
Yes. Yeah.
But in a very subtle way, the jnani's deep sleep is slightly different because his knowledge is there in a potential form.
Yep. Yep.
Whereas for Ajnani, he doesn't have self-knowledge.
He doesn't have that knowledge. Yes. That much you can say.
Okay.
That much you
That
can
you
say.
can say.
The self knowledge is there also there in the potential form. That's why when you get up, he doesn't get up ignorant. He gets up wise. Whereas the ignorant person, when he gets up ignorant.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
That is true.
cosmic Maya's Avarana Shakti is so powerful that it
It is so
overrides.
universal, more than powerful. See, if Avarana Shakti was powerful, then you will have to say it is there in waking also.
Correct.
But it's not there in waking. That's why we use the term Upadhi, not powerful. An Upadhi, a
Understood.
conditioning, yeah, a state.
Not.
A state. Yeah.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is where the thing is. Okay.
Swamiji, may I?
Who's that?
Nita.
Ah, Neeta, bolo.
That first line of the shloka,
Hmm.
this the last the Heyam Ekam. Is it that same as Heya Upadheya?
Yeah. Heyam to be given up is given up.
And Upadheya is to be.
Yeah, you see, you all are so used to looking at Hey Upade. You think it both has to go together. No, both doesn't have to go together. Each word can stand for itself.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, each word can stand for itself.
So Heyam is to given up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Swamiji, these two types of Vidya can be, is it similar like Jiva Srishti and Ishvara Srishti?
No, that's a different this thing. Yeah. Here we are talking about avidya. Avidya is an upadhi and avidya which creates a problem. Therefore, Ishvara Srishti does not come into the picture here. Though Maya Shakti is what makes Ishvara Ishvara, still the context is different. Ishvara Srishti is the whole world as it is. Jiva Srishti is how I am relating to that world, what I take it to be. Ishvara Srishti is this pen. Pen is Ishvara Srishti, objective appreciation of it. I like it. I think this is the best pen available. It writes so smooth. All that is my subjective overlapping on it. All that is my subjective overlapping on it. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I was confused was, is it like for a wise man, the Jiva Srishti part of it, the piling up of the things is not there. But Ishvara Srishti will remain as it is, like, the body-mind complex will remain. So I thought it was in that sense.
Put it like this. Let us say there is a Gujarati Mahatma. Okay? Can he say he does not like jalebi ghatia?
Nobody doesn't like it. Everybody likes Jalebi Ghatia.
Now, when this Gujarati wise person, okay, says, I love jalebi ghatia, is that Jiva Srishti or Ishvara Srishti?
That is Jiva Srishti.
The Jivas. Only thing is, it's not a problem for him.
That's not a problem. Okay.
स्वामी आप अभी तो आप चेन्नई में है, इधर जलेबी घाटिया नहीं मिलेगा, खाली इडली मिलेगा ब्रेकफास्ट के लिए. ठीक है, इडली में मजा आ जाएगा. He's not bothered by it. Unless he is the type of person who carries loads of khakra right through. Then थोड़ा जीव सृष्टि का इफेक्ट है उधर. Okay. Yeah.
Swamiji, can I add something?
Yeah.
So even Adhyasa gets kind of covered up in deep sleep, no? Because that will be there only in my waking state and to an extent in my probably dream state, because whatever dreams I see.
Yeah.
But Adhyasa also completely gets covered up in my deep sleep state because of cosmic Maya. Is that?
See, Avarna, don't use the word Avarna when you are talking about a wise person. Because Avarna is there only in deep sleep. If Avarna is there in deep sleep, then Avarna will continue in waking also. Adhyasa is not there in deep sleep, but Adhyasa is there in waking for normal human beings. For a wise person, you can't say Avarnam because the truth is not hidden from him. But as an Upadhi, Avidya is there. Because if you say Avarnam, then that Avarnam has to continue into waking, which is not there. Even in dream, the knowledge is there. If the dream is born of samskaras that was gained after he gained knowledge, then in the dream he will become wise person. That wisdom will be there. But if the dream is a product of the samskaras before he gained knowledge, then he will be an ignorant person. Because the previous samskaras are creating that dream. The previous samskaras where he is ignorant. So don't bother too much about waking and dream, dream and deep sleep. Bother about what you gain in waking, okay? The knowledge is to be gained in waking and let it remain there, yeah. And that's because the waking is a problem. Dream is not an issue. Deep sleep is not an issue. Yeah. So, the knowledge remains, and otherwise take it as an upadhi, that's all. Yeah. I think it's a good place to stop. Okay. Have a great time, enjoy yourself. Okay. Om Tat Sat.